Hey everybody, it's Olivia with Salon Calico, and I have Michelle here with me today. And I wanted to show you guys, we're going to be doing a bleach and tone. So her hair's straightened right now, but her hair is actually very coarse, very curly, and very dense. She's got a load of hair. So she helps me out, luckily. She'll tint her roots in between appointments, just because she'll be on the road a lot. And sometimes, you just gotta touch up the front a little bit. And it actually helps me out because, as I can show you guys in the back, her hair is very, very thick. So back here, you'll be able to see a little bit better of her natural color. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm going to be using 20 volume to lighten her out, but I'm gonna start in the back where it's darker, and then I'm going to progress to the front. And the reason that I say that it actually helps me out, that she does a little bit at home, is because if her roots were dark all over, by the time I apply the front or the back, the front or back is going to be fully processed, just because you have to take really, really tiny, tiny, tiny sections with her hair. Otherwise, you're just not gonna get the right saturation. So it actually helps me out. I'm gonna start in the back where it's darker, and by the time I progress to the front where it's already nice and lifted, we'll get a nice even coverage all over. Okay, so I know traditionally a lot of the times people will, to avoid overlapping, start from the bottom, lay the hair down, and paint up. I'm actually going to be starting from the top, going down, and the reason being is because I'm gonna want this hair to be processing a little bit longer, because her hair is so thick that in here generates a lot of heat. So if I put this on and it doesn't have as much heat, and this has more heat down here, by the time this is ready to go, this will be ready to go. So it's just these like fine-tuned little tricks that you'll kind of get to know as you progress in hair. And it's different for everybody. For some people, if they have really, really fine, fragile hair, that's not, gonna be generating as much heat. I'll go from the bottom up, so that way I'm not overlapping. But with her hair, I'm not really worried about that. I'm more so worried about fighting the clock. And I want you guys to see just how thin I'm applying, and I'm feathering up to the line. So I'm doing like these little paper thin sections, which the application will take long, but that's the only way that you're going to get the lift that you need. The more dense the hair, the thinner the section has to be. Okay, so we have the lightener applied on the roots. So one trick when you're mixing up lightener is that you do small batches, because the minute you start mixing the lightener, you've got about 50 to 55 minutes of power, and then it dies out. So if it took me, 25 minutes to apply the back of the head, depending on how thick the hair is, it's gonna be much weaker when you get to the last section. So you wanna make sure that you're mixing small batches, so that way the product doesn't expire by the time you get to the front. And so because we only have 55 minutes of lift, and this has been sitting on a little bit of time, I'm gonna use a timer. The reason that I time it out instead of eyeballing it is because sometimes when we're eyeballing it, because the product is white, we're like, okay, it looks ready. And then we rinse it off and it's way too yellow still. So I don't trust my eye, I instead trust the timer. And I max it out, I leave it on as long as possible until I know that it's no longer working, and then I'm gonna wash it out. So I'm gonna set my timer now, and then we'll check back in 40 minutes. Okay, so she's processed the full amount of time. What I'm gonna do is I am going to rinse her out thoroughly. Then I'm gonna shampoo her once with a regular shampoo, and then I'm going to pre-tone her with a purple shampoo. I'm using Fanola because it's a very strong formula. So what that's going to do is it's going to tone out the body of her hair, because we like a little bit of warmth, just not much yellowness, but honestly, through here looks really good. This is where I'm gonna tone. I'm not really gonna worry about down here. So our toning is gonna happen with the shampoo. So I'll show you guys once I get her washed out how her roots look. Okay, so I'm ready to tone her roots now. And if I look, I can see that, you know, we've lifted pretty nicely, but what I'm gonna be using is level 9 violet blue base, just so that way it counterbalances any of the darker gold tones, and that will leave us with a nice neutral. So usually we'd like comb her hair out and do it out of the bowl, but right now I'm gonna be using a gel toner, so it's gonna be a lot easier to put at her root. So I'm actually gonna start in the back, and basically I'm going to squeeze and work it through the root just like this, which is gonna be a hell of a lot faster than what we originally were doing. So that way she didn't have to wait all day for me. But the other formula was thicker. My old formula that I was using was thicker, so it was a little bit harder to get on the root. So as you can see, this is a lot quicker. I'm just whipping it through right here. And making sure that I'm going, you know, slowly through each section, so that way I get it nice and even. And then afterwards, what I'll do is I'll massage it through the root, so that way I get an even distribution. And this is Shades EQ 9P. So the last step in the service is I'm using this Wella color post treatment. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to help close down the cuticle. This is something that you want to do if somebody has more porous hair. Her hair, because it's not only coarse and curly and bleached, it's kind of setting up like the perfect canvas for hair that's going to have different porosities throughout. So this is just going to help close down the cuticle, give her some shine, and make sure that the color lasts. Okay, I've got her prepped out. I used the Vault Color Lock Leave-In Conditioner from Amika, so that way it was a bit of a detangler and it helps to lock in the color. And then I'm prepping each section with Blockade, which is a heat defense serum. This could be too heavy on people with fine hair texture, but because her hair is coarse and curly, it's gonna give me the perfect canvas to blow dry it. So I did a little bit of rough drying, only because her hair is bleached, so it's gonna really hold moisture. For most curly haired people, you wouldn't wanna do much of a rough dry, but I just did a light one just so that way her blow dry doesn't take a million years. But I wanna show you guys a technique. It's called reverse blow drying. So her hair is gonna have the tendency to get a lot of volume at the root, and if we want it to lay a little more smooth, as opposed to blow drying up like this where you're pulling the root out, and that's gonna give you a lot of volume at the root, in order to give it some sleek, smooth, you're actually gonna roll it like this, and you're gonna tuck your ends this way, so that way you get a stretch and pull down. So that way you can blow dry this nice and straight here first, and then when I'm doing the ends, I'll wrap them. So you're gonna go opposite here, and this is perfect for someone who you're actually trying to fight the volume of their hair. And I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay guys, so we're finished. As you can see, got a nice tone. She might be a little bit more ashy on her root, but I kind of like how that adds a little bit of shadow. I think it looks a little bit more natural because then it ends up being a little lighter through the bottom, and it looks like she has kind of like highlight, low light action, even though we do a bleach out. So don't be afraid of getting a little bit of tonality difference. I think people think like, oh, it's gonna be super dramatic. It looks super dramatic when it's wet, but when it's dry, as you can see, it's a really, really subtle difference. and I blow dried and flat ironed her. Her hair is the type of hair that definitely requires to use the iron afterwards to lock the style in, otherwise frizz will creep in later in the day. So just to quickly go over, I prepped her with the Vault leave-in conditioner, so that way I could detangle her. Then before blow drying, I used the Blockade Heat Defense Serum. I finished up, after I flat ironed her, I sprayed down the top of her hair with a little bit of dry conditioner to lay down any flyaways. And then I put a little bit of the Glass Action Universal Elixir on her ends at the very end. It seems like overkill, it seems like a lot of products, and yeah, on some people you wouldn't need to use 4 products, but we're taking her hair to a completely unnatural state, right? We're going from very curly hair to nice and sleek and straight, so sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. If it means a lot of product, use a lot of product, because this blow dry should last her the entire week. And how often do you wash your hair usually?
Once a week.
Once a week, okay, perfect. Yeah, so, and it should last that whole time. It shouldn't frizz up on day 2. So that's the importance of using, you know, good product. But yeah, here's our final product, nice light wheat blonde. All right, guys, thanks for watching.